Have you experienced sleepwalking? Before we talk about sleepwalking, we have to know that sleep has four stages: N1, N2, N3, and REM. In N1 to N2 stages, the brain activity gradually slows down. Eventually, it reaches the deepest stage, N3 slow wave sleep. In REM, rapid eye movement, your eyes are rolling and the brain becomes activated. Sleepwalking is a type of parasomnia in which a person suddenly awakens from N3 slow-wave sleep with clumsy and purposeless movement. They usually have no memory of the event the next day. Even though they are capable of performing various actions, their lack of full awareness may lead to dangerous behaviors. But why, given that the brain isn't awake, are sleepwalkers able to control the body? To understand this, you have to consider that many activities in daily life do not require conscious attention. Our brainstem can carry out stereotyped behaviors, and the spinal cord contains clusters of neurons called central pattern generators that are responsible for pre-programmed rhythmic movements. The long axons from the brainstem to the spinal cord are thus capable of controlling voluntary movements of the body. Our front part of the cortex is involved in higher cognitive functions such as making decisions, but it is shut down during a sleepwalking episode. This explains why sleepwalkers have no consciousness, but their bodies can move. Two technologies that are good helpers to monitor a sleepwalker's brain are EEG and SPECT. SPECT takes images of the brain activity, where EEG measures the firing pattern. Like many other scientists, we're curious about the differences between the brain of sleepwalkers and non-sleepwalkers. Let's follow two groups of scientists to investigate the brain of the sleepwalkers. Back in 2017, Knappe and his colleagues used virtual reality to set up an experiment called redirected walking. They asked a group of sleepwalkers and non-sleepwalkers to wear VR machines and walk towards a virtual target inside the VR. However, these targets, although all perceived as straight ahead, are in reality rotated around the user by some degree. That means in reality, the users are walking in a curved pathway. The scientist wants to know what is the threshold angle that triggered their awareness of the redirection. Knappe ended up finding that when both groups were asked to multitask by performing a serial 7 subtraction task while walking towards the target, the control group showed a decrease in velocity, but the sleepwalkers maintained a similar velocity. Meanwhile, the control group had a higher threshold to detect the deviation in the path traveled when multitasking, but the sleepwalkers had a lower threshold. Shortly after, another group of scientists, led by Yannick Rothager, repeated this study with a slightly different setup. The group measured beta power, a wave that is prominent during concentration and problem solving in a wake state, and is linked to automatic motor behavior. They found that sleepwalkers showed higher beta power under cognitive load and also in subthreshold redirected walking. These two studies suggested a dissociation between motor control and motor awareness in awake sleepwalkers. As a result, sleepwalkers are more easily to control the body without the awareness of the brain. With behavioral responses given, let's delve deeper into the neurobiological aspect and visit the sleepwalker's brain. This time, a group of scientists led by Mary Eve Desjardins used SPECT, a nuclear imaging technique. Scientists put sleepwalkers on a 24-hour sleep deprivation, then took their brain images before putting them into sleep and after 2 minutes into their slow-wave sleep. Compared to the control group, sleepwalkers showed decreasing blood uptake in the frontal area, specifically the superior frontal gyrus and the middle frontal gyrus and the insula. Superior frontal gyrus is thought to contribute to higher cognitive functions and something called working memory. Middle frontal gyrus is a region associated with high-level executive functions and decision-related processes, which tend to interrupt endogenous attentional processes and reorient the attention to exogenous stimulus. And insula is implicated in self-consciousness and more precisely interoception, or sensitivity towards stimuli arising from within one's body. Interoception is very important for awareness, subjectivity, sense of self, and behaviors, all of which are manifestly impaired during sleepwalking episodes. Evidence of decreased blood flow in these areas well explain the phenomenological features of a sleepwalker, such as the misperception of external stimuli, poor judgments to surroundings, altered self-perception, and reduced consciousness. Overall, what did we learn in this video? First, sleepwalking can happen because not all actions are controlled by the brain cortex. Second, sleepwalkers are prone to have a dissociation between motor control and motor awareness. Lastly, sleepwalkers have less blood uptake in the frontal region, and this hinders higher cognitive functions and explains the phenomenon of sleepwalking. Next time, if you're not a sleepwalker but someone tells you that they can sleepwalk, you will know why they are capable of that but you are not. Thank you for listening.